Hey everyone, welcome to today's Lunchtime Devo. Really excited to get to be here again talking with you guys. It was a great privilege to bring the message on Sunday. I enjoy getting to be up there in front of you guys. I can't imagine Pastor Rob preaching to a camera for so many weeks. And so I got the blessing of being the first to preach that in front of a crowd. And so it's better. It's, when you tell a joke, you can hear people laughing. The feedback is great. And so, but man, was the fellowship, was the worship great or not? It was a huge blessing, I know, for myself. And it looked like from getting to see all of you that it was a blessing for all of you to get to be together again. And so, if you weren't able to make it for reasons related other than health, I would really encourage you guys just to come and be a part of it if you feel comfortable with that. Again, this Sunday we are going to be looking to have, assuming weather is great, to have another outdoor service. We had a couple of drive-ups, people who drove up to watch the service, and so that's an option if you don't quite feel comfortable getting out of your vehicle. So please don't let that stop you. Even getting to see familiar faces is great, even if it's through the glass window or anything. I would really encourage you guys. It's a big blessing to be able to do that. So before we jump in, just a reminder that tomorrow, Thursday night, 6:30 is our prayer gathering. And so just encourage you guys to join that. I know they've had some sweet times of praying with one another, of sharing our hearts, of sharing things that are going on in our lives. That's a great way to be able to be connected with individuals that maybe you haven't been able to be able to connect with and get their prayer requests. So just another sweet time. Encourage you with that. So we're going to be dipping into 1 Timothy here in just a moment. So if you have your Bible, tune to that as well. With the onset of COVID-19 and the economic hardship that has followed, churches across America and the world have began asking the questions of what can we do? What should we be doing? How can we be reaching out? How can we support and love our communities during this time? Our church began, in general, the church as a whole began to step up to the plate and show the love of Christ in this time of hardship. Through the meal that we serve, and through other different outreaches. But we all know and have seen on the news this current tense political climate surrounding the protests, surrounding the rallies. And yesterday, I guess Monday, would be, I felt a similar thought, a similar feeling impressed upon my heart regarding everything that's happening. How can I help? What can I be doing? How can I reach out? How can I support and love the community in this during time? What is the church doing to be a part of this? And when I felt that, I had no answer. I didn't know where to start on Monday. And don't worry, I'm not jumping into a political rant or a push of my opinion regarding it, but I felt as a pastor, as a believer, that I shouldn't sit by and let everything happen, that I needed to be a part to show Christ's love in some manner, but I wasn't sure how to even go about that in this time. But on Monday, myself and a couple others went to the peaceful rally that was at the Capitol earlier in the afternoon. It was called Together We Can Make a Change, a Call to Action. Right? We decided that yes, we didn't know how to be a part of things, but we knew one way that we could be a part, and that was through prayer. And so we decided to go before this rally, before everything, and just walk around the Capitol building, walk around the grounds of where we thought people were going to be, and just pray. Pray for peace for the crowds. Pray for peace and truth with speakers, that they would be spreading truth and not amping everybody up, that people would come with hearts and minds ready to learn and to see what was going to be happening, and that violence wouldn't happen, and all these things that we have seen on the news. We were praying against, praying for Christ, praying for God to be heard, and really just that's what we knew at the time, and so that's what we decided that was going to be our place where we were going to start, right? And we were able to pray with an officer that was there, and prayed with some other people as well, just to see, we wanted to be a part of it, and that's how we knew. So during the rally, we decided to stay and continue and pray during it and see. We wanted to be educated. We wanted to figure out, what is this about? Not hearing it secondhand, but going to and knowing for ourselves. And one of the speakers at this rally was Pastor Dan Barry from Cornerstone Family Church. And he gave a powerful challenge to everyone, believer and unbeliever alike. And he said something along these lines of, don't sit on the sidelines and allow fear, allowing the unknown of both people and circumstances to stop you from standing up. Now, this doesn't just apply to social justice, but that is what is currently happening right now, and it applies to our lives as a whole. And they really encouraged at this rally. It was more of an educational, of a challenge to the community, of all communities, not just of one race, not of just one color, but of everybody, that we need to be taking responsibility of learning these things, of being active, not just being passive, not sitting on the sidelines, but understanding and knowing what is happening, and not just getting one side of the view or one or the other, but engaging with the people around us. One of another pastor from the area, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he challenged everybody that we need to start putting the neighbor back in neighborhood. Instead of knowing our neighbor, of talking, of having conversations with people in that. And that kind of ties into what we're going to be talking about next, right? What I want to jump into. And it's on Sunday, right? I spoke about, part of what I said was that we need to be living our lives as examples. And I asked the question of, what example are we living out? I asked specifically, will you conduct your life in a way worthy of the heavenly citizenship that you have been freely granted? I challenged all of us to reflect on our lives. Well, midweek, I challenge you again. Have you reflected on that? Have you seen, am I conducting my life in a way worthy of the citizenship that I have been freely granted? And we're going to expound on a little bit of what can it look like to live that citizenship out. So jumping to 1 Timothy chapter 4, we're going to go with verses 11 through 13, all right? So it reads like this: Command and teach these things. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity, until I come. Devote yourself to the public reading of Scripture, to teaching, and to preaching. James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20 kind of continues this theme of what we need to be doing, right? It reads like this, starting in verse 19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. So right here in these two little passages, we have a few things of how we can be living as examples of the heavenly citizenship that we have been granted, right? The first one is through speech. Right? God has given us our voices. God has given us this speech. And how are we going to use it? Are we going to use it positively? Are we going to use it negatively? Are we going to bring it to uplift people? Or are we going to bring it to bring people down? The choice is ours, right? Right now, a lot of speech is bringing people down, right? There's a lot of positive speech, like the stuff that that I saw at the rally on Monday was a lot of positive speech, a lot of uplifting, challenging people to live, to speak in a manner that is better, not just degrading, not just pulling people down in that. The second that we have is conduct, right? This kind of ties into the speech. We need to speak slow, right? To be slow to anger, especially. And one thing that was one of the speakers said was the same words that are in listen is in silent. So if we're not to listen to people, we need to be silent. We need to be hearing them, to quiet our voices, to hear, not just for them to talk at us, but for us to actually silence ourselves and listen to what they have to say. Listen to their hurts, listen to their pains. This goes true in any aspect of life with any person. This goes with parents to kids, right? Sometimes they talk a lot and they can be saying a lot of stuff that just kind of goes whoop whoop. But then when we actually listen to them and hear, oh, okay, this is what you're needing, then we can act accordingly to that. And then we don't, when we stop, when we are silent, when we're listening, then we hear and we're not as angry. We don't jump to conclusions with that. And so the challenge here is to be slow to be angry, be patient with yourself, with others, and to hear them out. We need to, number 3, we need to have love. We need to show love. Christ showed love to the least of us, right? There wasn't stipulations, there wasn't things we needed to do. He showed love to those. We have to lepers, to prostitutes, to tax collectors, which in their day were the lowest of low, right? They extorted people, they took advantage of them. And so he went to those that nobody else would go to demon-possessed men, to all these things. He loved them, he showed love to them. Reflect on your own life of how and who can I be showing love to. Next, we have faith. What faith are we showing, right? Does our faith reflect to other believers, reflect to others that we have a faith in God that guides us, that directs us, that in times of trouble that we have that faith to fall back on? Or are we anxious? Looking at those things with it. And so just like this says, but set an example, verse 11, the end of verse 11, but set an example for believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. What sort of examples are we setting in our lives? Just another midweek challenge to you guys to reflect on your heavenly citizenship and what sort of examples are we setting? Are we living in our heavenly citizenship, or are we still living with our citizenship on earth that we have been freed from, because heavenly citizenship is so much better? So thank you guys for tuning in. I encourage you once again to reflect on that. Thank you.